We're going to have some fun today on Nighttime at Noon. Daren Millard along with Brian McCormack. The simulcast of this program, K10, is available on all the team's digital channels. Beach Pay clinching the Pacific Division's fourth Pacific Division title as we pan down. It's streamed, and you can watch us here from Studio 31. That light that people watching the stream just saw. It's the only time it's ever been on television.
Really?
There's that light that shines down. It's a beautiful logo. The secondary logo of the Vegas Golden Knights. But because it's so high in Studio 31, it's never been on television before.
Until today?
Until today.
Making history?
Yeah.
Did you and Ron Paul talk about this?
Nope. Oh. But I don't think Ron knows that it wasn't supposed to be on TV. Now he's doubling down by just showing it over and over.
That's right.
Is that not fabulous, though?
It should get more screen time than it does.
It should. But because of the situation, the setup of Studio 31, it's very difficult.
And always precariously dangling above us at all times.
I think the idea was we had one of those jib cameras, off the long arm that you can make it float around. I think that was the original idea, but it just didn't.
Do we have to revisit it and get that camera?
I don't know, but we can say almost whatever we want because there's a big staff meeting, a company-wide staff meeting today.
That you're not going to?
Well, because I have to be on the VGK.
He's giving me his notes. I'm going to be his ambassador to the meeting.
But all of our bosses are busy right now.
That's right.
They're completely tied up.
So we can commit to things that they'll have no choice but to say yes to after the fact. Yeah.
Do and say whatever we want today.
Good. Okay. And
they won't find out until they watch the show back.
For our radio audience, I'm sorry you're missing history right now. This is the first time we've ever discussed the light logo dangling above the desk on radio. So.
Bruce Cassidy, the team just practiced at City National Arena. They are on their way to the airport to take off for Calgary, and they will face the Flames tomorrow and the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday. And that's it for the National Hockey League regular season portion of the winter for the Vegas Golden Knights. And they will do so comfortable knowing that they have won the regular season's Pacific Division title, another banner, and they can manage the roster how they see fit. Week.
Fourth Pacific Division title for the Golden Knights. And Bruce Cassidy mentioned a little bit after the win over Nashville in his post-game remarks that he didn't want to say that the next two games don't matter in terms of the results. What he did allude to is that wins or losses isn't going to be the most important thing. It's going to be getting guys through healthy, of course, giving guys the rest that they need to be ready for postseason play, and that the details and the things that you do well, if there's things that you want to tinker with or look at heading into the playoffs, that you can do that. But these next two games. The most important thing is just making sure you're fine-tuning and going into the postseason on the right foot.
We'll have Bruce Cassidy's meeting with the media that happened earlier in segment 2 of Nighttime at Noon, and he does shed some light on how he's going to approach these next two games from a roster perspective. Today's practice did feature Jack Eichel back on the ice, considered day-to-day right now. Noah Hannafin and Aiden Hill did not practice today, but it was a good workout as the team returned to the ice for these last two games. And something about hockey is you do have to be committed to the game. Like, if you don't go out and play hard, that's when things can get wonky.
It's they're such creatures of habit, too. You'll talk to any coach. If they don't practice or skate, 2 days in a row, and it's not the All-Star break or something like that, they get a little bit skittish. They're like, all right, hey, we're gonna skate before we get on the bus. It's very important that they keep into the regular routine. So, yes, these next two games are going to be treated with utmost seriousness, but it's important to make sure you're positioning yourself for the week that comes after. But the other interesting thing too is that as much as this doesn't impact the Golden Knights in the standings with the Pacific Division secured, it's a very meaningful game for Calgary going to that game, because if they can win out and get a little bit of help from St. Louis, Calgary can still fight their way in. That's really the first round matchup is still very much in question. So while the game doesn't mean anything to the Golden Knights in terms of their seeding, it means an awful lot in the Western Conference playoff picture.
Western Conference is unique right now because Winnipeg and Vegas have clinched the two divisions. We also know who's going to meet in the 2-3 series, Colorado and Dallas in the Central, and LA and Edmonton in the Pacific. What we are unaware of is it going to be Calgary? Is it going to be St. Louis? Is it going to be Minnesota that faces Vegas or Winnipeg?
Yeah. And it's, I don't know if you have any kind of a leaning of which matchup you'd want most for the Golden Knights, but the interesting wrinkle for each is that, for Minnesota, they're getting Kaprizov back, a well-rested Kaprizov who's going to have a little bit of time to knock the rust off.
He and Eriksson Ek were amazing the other night.
Yeah, if the Flames can fight their way in, it's going to be on a miracle late push. I shouldn't say miracle late push, but they're going to be fighting to the last second, and they'll go in with whatever momentum comes with that. And for the St. Louis Blues, around Valentine's Day, if you looked at the analytics markets, they had a 5% chance to make the playoffs. So who's had a better second half in terms of fighting their way out of the graveyard than the St. Louis Blues did? So, I think the Golden Knights will feel comfortable against all three, but whoever they face in that first round is going to be either coming off of a pretty darn good second half Cinderella story or a team in Minnesota that's getting Kirill Kaprizov back.
Calgary is the first team outside the playoff picture in the Western Conference right now. They can still finish wild card 1.
Yeah.
They can actually jump a team and finish wild card 1, which would put them against the Golden Knights. Minnesota Wild right now would match up against the Winnipeg Jets. So that St. Louis right now, if the playoffs started today, would face Vegas.
Yes, I think the image on the screen there, I think might have been a couple of days dated, I do believe, but it shakes out the same. Yes, that Calgary can still get wild card 1 over Minnesota, but if it ended today, it would be Minnesota. If it ended today, and again, I don't know, is there a matchup that you feel is more advantageous than the other? I don't think you want to get into that game, but it's a Golden Knights.
I don't think it's even a game. In other years, yeah, you'd like to play Team C.
Yeah,
but is there a discernible difference from Calgary if they get in, given the confidence that they would have, or a Minnesota Wild team that's healthier? Or a St. Louis team that has blitzed the schedule since the Four Nations face-off and been so good?
Do you think there's a reason, and maybe I'm just not in the right conversations, but St. Louis went from, again, a 5% chance to make the playoffs around Valentine's Day, or around that time, and they pushed themselves all the way into this situation here with Jim Montgomery doing a heck of a job behind the bench. It's not that outrageously different than 2019 when they won the Cup and they came back from being at the bottom of the pack and at the turn of the new year. I feel like that conversation isn't happening this time around the same way.
I have a theory.
Is it that Jordan Binnington isn't an unknown commodity and a darling child to drive that?
That's not my theory.
I'd like to hear it.
So Jim Montgomery takes over midseason. He hits
Had
the
earlier
ground
than that.
running. Yeah, front half of the season. You take over a team, and they know him because he was there as an assistant coach, or
Correct.
the core group knows him. But you can't do a lot in the short term, but you do some tweaks along the way. Where did this turnaround happen? It happened post Four Nations face-off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know this for sure, but this is my theory, that the coaching staff, while they were all able to get some downtime, came back early, had probably a deep dive on the team, put in some new systems, the systems that they really wanted, or were able to fine-tune some of the work that they were able to do after Jim Montgomery took over. And when the players came back, they put everything that Jim Montgomery wanted if he was taking over a team at the start of a campaign and then in training camp. They were able to have their mini training camp right then with all their new systems in place and philosophies and lines, etc. Have meetings with the players, do a much more extensive evaluation of the team. And when did the turnaround? Right after that.
So
that's my philosophy.
You think Jim Montgomery, when he gets the job, is jumping onto a moving train and just
which every
keeping
coach
up with it?
that takes over during a season is, and you'll get that initial bump just from a change of attitude and people trying to. It's less tactical, honestly. When a coach takes over and you get the coaching bump, it's much less X and O's that are making the difference. It's everybody wants to impress the new boss.
A little bit of a fire lit, yeah.
And that's where I think they got a little bit of a push, but then it shows the difference in what a coach can can actually do if they have time.
Yeah.
And so there's my theory.
That's interesting. It's good because we all thought about the Four Nations tournament for all the fun that it was going to be. It's like, okay, taking that kind of a break during the middle of the season, does that break up momentum for anybody? Does that pose a challenge for any of these teams? But you can make the argument that for teams that need a week or so to rearrange the furniture,
I know several
teams
that didn't have coaching changes, did a deeper dive and changed some things coming out of the Four Nations on their own. So it makes even more sense that Montgomery would do it, having taken over during the season.
Interesting. But
are you really interested, or are you just saying that because it's broadcast speak?
I'm interested all the time.
Okay.
Fascinated, in fact.
Because sometimes people just say, "Oh, interesting," and they don't really care.
Well, we spent 5 minutes talking about it. I would have cut you off a lot sooner if I wasn't interested.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. But it does. It's always great this time of year, though. It's so much fun heading into the playoffs. It's always fun when there's a couple of races that go until the final moments, and it does look like that wild card race in the West could be that. And for Calgary, you go up against a Golden Knights team, and in that sense, the Golden Knights, you can have a little bit of influence on dictating who you're going to get in that first round, so there's implications there. Now it's going to affect the way that they play, but the Golden Knights will affect their first round destiny based on what they've done, what they do in Calgary, one way or another. And then after that, I think Calgary gets LA, I think, which also might be in a let's get ready for next week kind of mode. So Calgary might actually have better matchups with the need to run the table than some of the other teams do.
Bruce Cassidy speaks to the importance and what's going to be on the line from a Calgary angle during his media availability. We've got that coming up for you right after this commercial break. But before we go there, the Golden Knights officially clinched the Pacific Division, and they're heading back to the playoffs. Playoff single-game tickets are on sale now at VegasGoldenKnights.com. So cheer on your Golden Knights at the Fortress for games 1 and 2 of the first round. The 2025 playoffs are for the realm. Buy yours today. We'll be back with more on Nighttime at Noon. Hey, Vegas fans, if you want more Golden Knights content, head over to the Vegas Golden Knights YouTube channel now and subscribe. You can watch all access player videos, game highlights, and even our special VGK origins or the new documentary, The VGK Way. Subscribe to our channel today and stay up to date on all things VGK and revisit some of our greatest moments as the Golden Knights. It's an awesome Vegas Golden Knights YouTube channel. I find myself really into YouTube Shorts and the Instagram Reels these days, and I've really bonded with the Vegas Golden Knights YouTube channel. The VGK Way is there, and the behind the scenes, if you want to be part of what happens during the course of a road trip or a National Hockey League season with the Vegas Golden Knights, that will give you incredible experiences.
So you're really into the Instagram Reels right now. What does your search page look like? Your suggested material?
I don't know whether I've actually put it in there, or I don't remember putting search parameters in there, or
you just hit the little magnifying glass at the bottom, and then what does it tell you to look at?
They just roll up whatever comes up, and then I just go through it. Some are cycling, some are hockey, some are podcasts.
There you go. So
but I don't know whether I've actually ever.
What influences are hitting you?
Yeah, I think it's an algorithm, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Whenever the algorithm is hitting me.
So it's just like cycling and hockey highlights. That's what I would expect. Mm-hmm. That's what I think everyone would expect. That's what makes you.
And a lot of Connect 4 strategies.
Connect 4 strategies.
Yeah, you didn't play Connect 4?
Not strategically.
Oh, a lot of strategies with Connect
I just
4.
Drop them and look like the cute color patterns.
On the subject of a strategy, here's the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, Bruce Cassidy, who spoke prior to the team departing for this final 2 games of the National Hockey League regular season.
I enjoy playing better than watching it, to be honest. Great finish from what I heard and saw this morning, but good for Rory. He's battled the demons there for a long time. So is Rose, though, right? Hasn't he been second a number of times? So tough on him. I forget about that.
You think about this time last year, you add in Tomas, you add in Noah, injuries late in the year with Mark's not playing, Petro's out. I don't think chemistry was lacking, but it wasn't cohesive. This year, everybody's in there fully. Riley knows the system essentially. How important is that going into the playoffs this time?
Well, listen, I think it had a factor last year. We were trying to find the best fit for Hertl. If you remember, we put him on the wing, put him at center, put Stevenson on the wing, tried him with Stoney, that line. So we didn't have a lot of time to do it. So that matters. Like in a tight series, and it was a tight series. It went to the third period of Game 7. It was a 1-goal game. So, yeah, it does matter. How much? You still got to get out there and play, and players got to play no matter who they're with. But at the end of the day, the easier it can be for them in any situation, the better they're probably going to play too. So that was last year. This year, the guys we added, Satter came earlier and it's been kind of slotted right in. It's worked. And Smitty with Carly, we know, figured that would work, and it has. So much easier this year going into it that way. I think the rest of it is sorting out some of the other lines, who plays with who when you're completely healthy. But that's a good problem to have when you're completely healthy, who has to sit out. And that's what we went through 2 years ago, right? If you remember, it was Amadio, then Phil and Cotter, who had scored a bunch of, so that's a good problem to have when you have depth. It's tough on those players, but it's great for the team when everyone's healthy and you can do different things.
Bruce, having taken care of the division Saturday, how do you approach now the final couple of games?
Well, we're going to prepare to win. We always do. There's less at stake, and that's real. My guys know that. We had discussed the importance of trying to get this done at home last week so we could use this week however we felt was best for us. So they know that. And we are going to, I'll go through the lineup tomorrow. I don't want to do it today, but we are going to rest some people. But still, I think our lineup's good enough to beat anybody. So we're going to go in the intention of winning. Now we're going to get a real hungry, desperate, pick your word, for Calgary. I mean, they're right there. So we're going to get their best game. We better be ready to go. So we understand that. But that's how we're going to use it. We'll do the same in Vancouver, depending on how we feel. We know we have to be at our best for Sunday or Game 1. so that we want to use these 2 games, however that is, whether it's not playing players or playing players. We're not changing our systems. We're not going out there reinventing the wheel in these 2 games, right? We may, a few face-offs here or there we haven't used for a while, whatever, throw in to see how they look, or a power play setup, something. But that's it. We're going to play the same way. And I can't tell you where the urgency level will be, like, when you're playing for first place versus knowing you've got bigger things down the road. That's real, and it's a mental thing that players have to put behind them when they get out there. But we're not the only team going through that. So now there is an opportunity to stay ahead of Dallas if down the road home ice. So there is something at stake in that regard in the standings. But that's a tough sell when that's like could be 5 weeks down the road, right? It's just like it's probably a tough sell for Pete and his team that, at this time of the year when you're kind of locked in to where you're going to be. So, but that's the reality, the good reality of every team that's, going to go to the playoffs. You can't help but look ahead. So we got to get them focused. So I guess going back, we have to get them focused on the job and stay in the moment that night, not worry about what's ahead of us. Stay in the moment that night, then we'll discuss what's ahead of us and go from there. Sure. Dave, you can ask me whatever you want, but I'm here all day. Well, no, I have a flight, so.
Do you seek their input?
Yes. Yes. Not every player, but we know, okay, Four Nations guy, right? The Four Nations guys, you're going to see that tomorrow. Like if you're looking to get out in front of this, that those are the guys that got a little bit of a rest, but never got the true rest of the other ones. So can we catch that up? I don't know if this is an opportunity to do that, but there is no other one. So, discussions with those players were first. Discussions with veteran guys usually come next. Discussions with guys that have played every game this year. How much does that mean to you? Do you need a rest, or do you want to, the badge of honor of being an Ironman? So, and that's real too. I think there's a lot of players that want to be able to, hey, I played every game, so they don't want to come out. Others will say, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to be at my best and rested for, game 1. So it's a little bit of that.
How much does the schedule come into play? Can it be too much rest? Because if the last game was Sunday, and now next Sunday, can there be too much rest? Goalies too, I guess.
Well, the goalie would be the biggest one in between starts. Is that too much time? Because it's hard to, you can replicate, I think, for players, some situations. It's harder to replicate the traffic and the sustained pressure that goalies have to go through, the pace of the game in front of them. So I would say they would be the one that would probably be the most vocal about, hey, my timing. Having said that, if there's breaks in the year, right? There's playoff series that you get extended time because you close out a series early, and then so those things do exist out there, and they've probably all been through them. But I understand the goaltenders are probably the most creatures of habit and routine, so you do have to be mindful of that. But you want your guy healthy. There's that risk involved. That's the football question to me. Always comes down to it. When you have limited games and you got to wait 2 weeks between games, you play your starters. I don't know. There's probably an argument for both sides.
4-0-1 in the last 5 to clinch the division. Did you see any commonalities out of your team that was able to rise to the occasion?
Yeah, I saw us play uneven hockey, but good hockey for the most part, but we were not dominant, certainly in these 2 home games. I thought more so against Nashville. We played a better 60-minute game, but all of a sudden in the third period, we weren't at our best for 7-8 minutes, and it's tied. So we had to find a way to get it over the finish line, a little extra juice in the third. That's what happened with Seattle. They get back in it. We were on the road in Calgary. We had a lead, and we had to go to overtime. Vancouver was close to the end, a late third period goal. So tight hockey games. We weren't able to just say, hey, there's more at stake for us. We're just going to outplay the other team. It didn't work that way. Every game was close. So that's what I saw. A lot of close hockey games where we were able to get it done at the right time and make the play necessary to win, exception of Colorado. Even that one went all the way to the shootout.
Are you looking at Calgary, Minnesota, St. Louis in increments, or you kind of just, do you focus on the next 2 and then kind of dwindle it down before you find out who you play?
Well, we see Calgary tomorrow, so that's one good thing. We're going to get a head start if that's an opponent. So that's the good one about that. We're right there, and we just saw them. Haven't seen St. Louis in quite some time, so that one we're going to have to drill down on. I don't think our guys will start intensive prep until Thursday morning, or it's declared, because we have a day off Thursday, and we have played these teams. We just saw Minnesota. St. Louis, I'd say, would be the biggest one because of now. We did play them after the coaching change once, I believe, but they're the team that's probably made the most strides. So that's the one you'd have to look at closer, and that's the one after Calgary tomorrow. Probably assign one of the coaches, hey, start digging and don't worry so much about Vancouver, just because they are the newest. But we still have some time. I don't believe in bringing the guys in Thursday morning and drilling down on whoever it is, right? They need a day away after a couple of games, and then Friday we'll start discussing tendencies. But I've always said this, and I've learned this, I think there's a lot of over-preparation for Game 1, where players are sitting around thinking. I think the series starts after Game 1. Now you say, okay, this is what they're about. Let's get after it. Now you're seeing it real. So, and that doesn't mean by any means you're not preparing for Game 1. I just think sometimes you have a tendency to over-prepare for every situation that's going to come up, when really the adjustments are made once the series starts, and you sort of see what's going on.
Did you have any thoughts on Alec Martinez announcing his retirement?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping they'd put him in the shootout the other night because we were watching the game, him and Maroon. No, I get it, they're at home, and Bedard's, and then I think they won the shootout, but I was hoping to see, that'd be a nice send-off for them. Yeah, I mean, he's had a outstanding career. When I was in Providence coaching the Bruins minor league team, he was in Manchester with LA's team. And so he started. So for a guy that started in the minors, had a pretty exceptional career to work his way up, play that long, and have that much success. 3 Stanley Cups. Not too many guys can say that. So good on Marty. I know injuries derailed some of probably the game's played accomplishments, but still, he was a guy that played. If he was able, he was in there. He ate pucks every night, did a lot of the dirty work. Great teammate, guys loved him. Good veteran guy for the coaches. Yeah, I wish him nothing but the best. I know he's, got a couple of new additions to his family, so he'll have lots to do away from the rink. I'm sure he'll miss the game, but that part of the next chapter of his life will be exciting too.
Jack returned to the group today?
He did. He's skating with us. We're going to keep him as day-to-day, Daren, for now, and see what we do with our lineup, but he's out skating and he's feeling better. The guys that were sick were all out there. They're feeling better, so hopefully that's behind us as well.
Now it's off to Calgary for the Game 82 appearance against the Flames, and then finish up the regular season against the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday.
And you heard at the end, Jack Eichel skating with the group. That's good news. Again, the rest of this week, getting healthy is a big assignment for every team to get as healthy as you can. And Tomas Hertl rejoining earlier in the week puts them on that track. But when we can come back digging a little bit more, it's always fun to see how Bruce, he doesn't talk in cliches. He talks very realistically and very practically. And the approach to these next 2 games was interesting.
Were you asking me if I heard that he had mentioned Jack Eichel was back?
You were sitting in the room. You asked the question.
I asked the question.
You ask a lot of questions.
I'm very curious.
He said he had a flight, and you're just like, one more thing.
I'm very curious. Yeah, we'll dig into what Jack means coming back, and whether he plays both games or one game. We'll hear a little bit more about possibilities regarding that. And also, Brian McCormack got to experience something really unique on the weekend from a hockey angle. We'll uncover the return of Gabriel Landeskog to the professional game as we continue on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas and all the VGK social media channels.
Golden Knights fans, if you ever want to own a piece of Golden Knights history, you can do that with VGK Authentics, the official channel for game-used items coming off the ice. From game-used pucks to game-worn jerseys and everything in between, owning something from your favorite Golden Knights player has never been so simple. Shop VGK Authentics on VegasTeamStore.com, at the Arsenal, at City National Arena, and at the VGK Authentics kiosk behind Section 10 at T-Mobile Arena during games. VGK Authentics, your source for game-used VGK swag.
If you're taking in the stream, you're watching some of the authentics that are up for sale.
Are your pads in there?
No, mine aren't game used. They could be sold as brand new.
E-bug used.
No, brand new. There's not a lot of marks on them. But look at that. Like that is cool. Ilya Samsonov pad set available that you could buy. And here's the cool thing. You're being around the rink like we are. Mm-hmm. I'm always glancing out to see who's skating, and part of a couple of skates on the weekend. And people do buy some of this and use it.
Yes.
Gloves, helmets, goal equipment. You see it on the ice. It's not just for people that collect it and have it in the office. People actually use it too. Now you have to be a certain size to be able to use Samsonovs.
NHL sized, basically. Yeah, no judgment. It's you bought it. You do what you want with it. Certain items, maybe if it's a stick, I might use it or something. If I had Ilya Samsonov's pads, like I don't think I'm using them in my beer league game.
Good for the man cave though.
Oh, amazing for the man cave. No, I'm getting them. I don't think I'm wearing them out, because then I'd have to go to my friends, and when I show off what I have, I'd be like, his puck mark, my puck mark, his puck mark. I think I would rather just keep them pristine.
I had this vision when you said, I'm not going to wear them out. I'm thinking,
clubbing.
You're going downtown Summerlin?
Yeah.
Walking through.
I saw
Grape Street?
Yeah, I saw Brian. Yeah. Brian was working Fremont in the pads. I just like attention.
You would barely stand out on Fremont.
That's true. It's like I'd be like, why is he wearing so much?
When people come to town, do you take them to Fremont?
It depends.
Yeah,
mom and dad. Yeah, mom and dad. No, yeah.
But it is
bachelor party. Yeah,
it's outstanding.
It's a scene.
It's crazy cool, but you have to be in that mood. Once you get there, though, it's such a spectacle. Even those of us that live here.
Yeah.
It's a spectacle.
It's a spectacle. You got to keep your head up, though, because you might, like one time I found myself not unknowingly, I was just standing there waiting for my friend to come back, and I was standing in the middle of one of those circles, and people just started gathering around, like, all right, give us a show.
Yeah.
Do something.
I started throwing quarters at
I had nothing prepared.
You didn't have a place for them to throw the change at you?
No, I just started narrating. That's all I know how to do.
Narration.
What's your name? I'll read it to you.
Some of what Bruce had to say in the last segment before they take off for the games against Calgary and Vancouver. They are going to manage their roster to a certain level over the next couple, but even with that, they're playing to win. And I thought it was great. It's not let's just get through these two games. They're going to try to add to the win totals.
For sure. And as he mentioned, there's still implications with Dallas for potential home ice down the road. What I always love about Bruce is that he speaks to you on very realistic terms. It's not cliche driven. It's not every 2 points matter. They do. But he's realistic in the sense like, all right, the stakes for these two games aren't what they have been for prior games. They're just not. And we're not going to lie to ourselves or expect our players to feel that they are. We can be realistic about what these games mean compared to what it meant prior to clinching a division title. So that's just realistic. Let's meet the players where they are in that expectation. Allows you to rest guys, but at the same time, on any given night, he thinks he has a roster that can win hockey games. And the way you're going to win hockey games is by sticking to the details and the game plan and the structure and the system that you've had all season long. That's where the risk comes in the final two games of the season if you were to take your foot off the gas pedal, if you will. Taking your foot off the gas pedal doesn't mean not trying. It means getting sloppy. It means taking shortcuts. That's the thing that you can't afford to happen in your last two games before playoff hockey kicks in. So the details are still going to be there, but there's going to be an opportunity for guys who need a rest perhaps to get it.
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock start for the game against the Calgary Flames. So that's a 5 o'clock pregame show on Fox Sports Las Vegas, 6:30 or 5:30 on Scripps Sports. I think the lineup it'll be missing some guys tomorrow night. And Bruce alluded to the Four Nations guys and what to do with them. Jack hasn't played the last couple, was at practice today. What to do with some of those players. I think tomorrow night we'll have more of a feel because the competitive integrity and what it means to other teams because of the Calgary Flames situation.
The desperation of the Calgary situation,
If Calgary plays San Jose tonight, if they lose that game, well, that's may change things a little bit. But the just integrity, I love using that word when I can. The Wednesday game, I think, is right on the table with you could see a very different, not a traditional National Hockey League lineup if there was ever going to be one. That's on the second game of a back-to-back. It doesn't mean anything for either club, and you're close to the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The puck drops on the Stanley Cup playoffs on Saturday. We're not sure yet when Vegas will play its opener. There's some formulas out there that it will be Sunday, but until it's confirmed, we don't know where the National Hockey League is going, but you're still close enough. So Wednesday's game, I can see a very different lineup. Tomorrow night, I anticipating something more what we're used to.
I agree, and as and Bruce talked about this a little bit too. There's going to be more research that the staff is going to have to do for a potential St. Louis matchup, if that's the way it all shakes out. But if it's a Calgary matchup, again, you have opportunity to dictate that, but you're also going to perhaps face Calgary down the road. It's not a game that you just completely look past, and their desperation, Calgary's desperation, is going to elevate the intensity of that game. That game's going to be played on its merits. I agree. If it truly means it will mean nothing, the game against Vancouver. I agree with you. That's one where it's like, hey, let's get through this healthy and get ready for what's next.
It is amazing. Vegas has clinched the division. They will finish as the top seed in the Pacific and right near the top. Right now, they're 2 in the Western Conference, and they even have games that have some kind of implications because of the Calgary game left. Like they will have one totally meaningless game.
Yeah. One game that you and I won't remember what happened in it 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
There's one meaningless game. That's from a good team. That's wild. The National Hockey League, good on you. You've stayed away from the play-in format, which I think
I have no interest in that.
But I think we're getting that anyway.
Yeah.
Playing with what's happening here. The Fan Appreciation Week wrapped up on the weekend with that marvelous stand-up game in which they were able to shrug aside any potential loss against the Nashville Predators and win it with 2 minutes left to go on the goal by Noah Hannafin. And some awards were released during the celebration, the jersey off the back ceremony. Brett Howden wins the 7th Player Award. McNabb and Colasar were other nominees, but for overachieving on the ice. And Brett Howden, 23 goals this season, never hit double digits before.
He had 23 goals in the last 3 seasons combined. So not just a breakout offensive season, but it started from the get-go, and it's been pretty consistent throughout, too. A phenomenal season from Brett Howden. And we talked about this before for the Golden Knights. They've been able to maintain this high level of both expectation and achievement with a core group of players being here throughout, but some of the other players interchanging. And part of the reason for that is, and Kelly McCrimmon says, if you're going to be successful, you're going to need some players playing above the expectations. And Brett Howden, expectations for him in a bottom 6 role are always that he's going to be a dependable player. The expectation for him, or what was asked of him going into this season, wasn't that he scored 23 goals. But he added that to his game, and I think when he caught fire in October and November,
what do you think the expectations were coming into this year? I think it was hit double digits.
Sure. I don't think it was hit 23.
No, you're right.
Yeah. And then, again, with the freedom that gives you throughout the season when you have players like Howden, like Keegan Colasar, elevating that aspect of their game. Hey, guys, we lost goals from the lineup this summer. They're going to have to come from somewhere. And they have, without losing what already made them dependable players, have leaned into that a little bit more. And I think that just frees you up during the season to be able to allow other players to be utilized to their full potential.
I love the fact that Brett scored on the weekend.
It was appropriate.
It was perfect. But what jumped out at me even more was on a night that he wins the seventh player award, he was centering the top line.
Mm-hmm.
He was filling in for Jack Eichel, and wasn't just, okay, we got a bunch of injuries, he's got to go there. Like that's your choice to put him in there, and that spoke volumes.
Right, almost to the point, like seventh player. It's like, who is the person?
He's not eligible next year for this.
Fits everywhere, right?
Like, honestly, Brett Howden's taken himself out of the mix.
Right.
For the seventh player award.
Well, I think it also speaks, though, again, the great season he's having. It's being rewarded for that. It's being recognized as, to your point,
new contract, and
the entire perception of Brett Howden is different now, because you know that he has this. And again, for me, from the start of his career, you thought that at the get-go there might be more potential for offense, and then I think we all got used to him in a certain role, and this was him reminding everyone, like, no, there's more in there, and it's again been a growth of his game. But it also just reminds you too, you're putting Howden up into Jack Eichel's spot. We've also seen Tanner Pearson have first-line time when needed. The way that this team operates, it does give Bruce Cassidy the ability, again, because it's dependable players who do what's asked of them. You're not asking Brett Howden to go up there and be a 90-point guy, but you're asking him to fill the lane and to be a responsible line mate for a night. And this lineup has a lot of depth and a lot of versatility. It's not a matter of, okay, we have a 90-point guy out of the lineup. Who's our 90-point guy tonight? That's not what you need for that line to be successful.
That was a 50-goal shot that Brett Howden put home, though.
Snipe.
Right at that just joint between the post and the crossbar, and just in that. So
which also a matter of the growth too. Is that's a confident shot, and sometimes seeing the puck go in will change you as a player. And he's just the finishing is, it's not all rebound goals.
Well, I've been changed seeing
he's
pucks
beating
go
goaltenders
in.
clean.
Kolasar was a finalist for the seventh player award. Keegan, congratulations, winning the Vegas Strong Service Award. Outstanding the work that Keegan does out and about in our community, and with people within our community. It's not always the front page news. Look, players are here, players are there. Keegan does so much giving back to our community. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge Keegan Kolasar, who's had a career year himself. And Aiden Hill wins the First Star Award, fifth in wins in the National Hockey League with 50 starts now from this season.
Yeah, and another guy who's had a great second half of the season too. And
3 career years: Howden, Kolasar, and Hill.
Yeah, and for, again, Aiden Hill, great to see him have, again, the season he's had, but to have been so strong in these few months leading up to postseason hockey, to show that he's playing at that caliber that we've seen him when he's hot in the spring. It leads to banners. So very encouraging for the Golden Knights that this time of year he looks raring to go for playoff hockey.
You know, they come out and they give the souvenir away to the fans, the sword, the stuffed sword. And some guys, they don't get that opportunity very often. They go over and they're looking around. Aiden was able to give specific people the souvenir. He did it so many times, the list that we see on the stream.
He's working the glass. He's like, all right, I got you already. I got you already.
Exactly.
You have yours.
Come on. No
a
month
seconds.
ago.
Yeah.
No way. Let's take a break. We'll come back with some other news around the National Hockey League, including that Gabriel Landeskog appearance in the American Hockey League that Brian McCormack got to witness firsthand. Stay with us on Fox Sports Las Vegas and all the VGK social media channels. For the 2025-26 NHL season are on sale now. Season ticket offers to our Golden Knight fans are the best savings off single game ticket prices with full season membership starting at just $58 per ticket per game. Other benefits of membership include access to exclusive member events and gifts, priority access to playoff tickets. How handy is that right now? And so much more. Think about that. Priority access to playoff tickets if you're a season ticket member. Head over to VegasGoldenKnights.com to buy yours today. You were supposed to read that, Brian McCormack, and it was flipped to the wrong page. You are out to get me right now. You are trying to make me look bad in front of the live studio audience and those watching and listening on the VGK stream at nighttime at noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
It's my last chance to make you look bad this year. So,
Is this the last time we're going to do this?
The last time I'm on the calendar.
Well, calendars can change depending if
I can
the
just
season,
barge through the door and invite myself.
The season can go longer and longer and longer. The first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs will start this weekend, and some things that we've learned over the course of the last few days. Winnipeg Jets win the President's Trophy for the first time in franchise history. First Canadian team to win it since Vancouver in the mid-2010 area.
Does Connor Hellebuck deserve more MVP chatter than we're hearing?
Yes.
I hear a lot of McCann, a lot of Kucherov, and I don't know anyone more valuable than him.
You know, when you get into it, the numbers and leading like the big four statistical categories as a goaltender, leading all of them, that doesn't happen. And so he absolutely deserves to be in the MVP conversation. I would vote for Kucherov myself. I would have Hellebuck in there, and I would give Leon Draisaitl some strong consideration. It would come down between Draisaitl and McKinnon for my third vote.
I think it's also the fact it's not typically a goaltender award or a defenseman award. Now, that shouldn't be, just it's usually a leading scorer conversation. If you're Connor Hellebuck, to get that kind of consideration, you almost need to do it more than once, almost as if it's like a building towards it. And we've seen a season like this from Connor Hellebuck. Again, this is his best, but we've seen him be in this stratosphere.
He's going to win his third
three
Vezina.
Times. Yeah.
He's going to win his third Vezina, and the team's the best team in the National Hockey League.
So if you're not going to give it to him now, when are you going to give it to a goaltender ever? How much better can a goaltender be for that consideration than what he is right now, dating back to the Hasek era?
Brian McCormack has topped out goaltending. All right. For the first time in NHL history, the Bruins, the Rangers, the Penguins don't make the playoffs. It's also the first time in NHL history that the 4 U.S. original 6 teams all miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers.
President's Trophy team coming back and missing the playoff the next year, too. It's 3 teams. Maybe the Rangers and the Bruins are having similar conversations going into this offseason about how to rectify things, whereas Pittsburgh, this just seems like a continuation of the trend that they've been on.
Mm-hmm. And you got to witness Gabriel Landeskog's return to professional hockey this weekend.
Really, really neat. It was he played with the Colorado Eagles, 2 conditioning games. I believe Friday's game was his first in 1,020 days. His first since he lifted a cup over his head for Gabriel Landeskog. And that building in Colorado for the Eagles in Loveland, and that building is sold out all the time. It's a raucous atmosphere. It's kind of like a ranch town, so it's the show in town. And that place, I've never heard it so loud. There were no seats to be had. There was no standing room to be had. They chanted Gabriel Landeskog's name all night. Every time Landeskog was on the ice, everyone was on their feet, and he would get a standing ovation.
Chanting, Landy?
Landy.
Okay.
Because
Landeskog and Gabriel are very hard.
There was Landy. There was thank you, Landy. And then every time he got back from his shift, a shift where nothing happened, he'd go back to the bench and there would be a standing ovation. And then Saturday's game, the Silver Knights had a 3-1 lead in the third period. Landeskog assisted on the second goal and then scored the power play goal to tie it with 3.5 minutes left. And someone in the stands was holding a decibel meter. It was at 108. The place was shaking. So really, really cool to see him come back. And for the Avalanche and for hockey, he got through it unscathed. He was going in every scrum. He was not protecting himself. He played hockey, and it was neat to see.
Did you get a chance to ask Tana Lazinski what they said off the face-off? Because there were some words exchanged.
That was Raphael Lavoie. That was Lavoie, and it seemed just a tap on the shin guard. I asked if anybody talked to him much. They said not much. The person I think had the most interaction with him was Ben Hemmerling, because Ben Hemmerling was in a headlock, and that was all. We kind of laughed. He said, "You're going to be all over Sportsnet. You're going to be all over SportsCenter," and So I actually said, like, did you when he let you go, were you going to take a swing? And he's like, they'd have to get a police escort to get me out of this building if I took a swing at Gabriel Landeskog tonight.
Smart decision.
Here you see it right here. And this is an example of Gabriel Landeskog. This is his first game since June of 2022. You think maybe he'd shy away from this stuff, but
mid-season form right there.
He was in the midst of everything, yeah.
We have the final two games for the regular season for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Tuesday game against Calgary is on Scripps Sports. Wednesday's game in Vancouver is a national game, but the VGK watch party will take place at Uncommons on Wednesday. As we go down the home stretch, final week for the Henderson Silver Knights as well.
Yep, the Silver Knights will play Wednesday in San Diego, Friday night in Bakersfield, and then Saturday will be the last game of the season. Home game, fan appreciation night, 6 p.m. puck drop against Bakersfield. So Silver Knights will not have playoff hockey this year, but you try to run through the finish line and finish on a strong note. And some of the young guys we've seen who have had promising seasons, a couple more games for them.
Stick tap to our friend Alec Martinez, the Warrior. What they called him inside that room with the Vegas Golden Knights, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, and he's finished. He's announced his retirement. He's got a blossoming family with his wife Emily, and just one of the coolest dudes that you've come across as a player in the National Hockey League.
Unbelievable career, such a huge part of so many great teams, and some iconic highlight moments that he'll be able to look back on as well.
And a funny guy too. Some dry humor. But a funny guy.
Maybe he'll get into the media.
There's an idea. Can we afford him?
You tell him.